My friend really needs to hear these words right now. Would you mind if I used your words and put it on the inside of a card that I've got for her?
Welcome to my channel. Today I have an amazing personality. She's the founder of Clarabelle e-commerce brand. She is a founder and coach on recently set up LBSS, which is London Business Support Services, and she's also coaching and mentoring business leaders and senior executives. Please welcome Claire. Claire, thank you so much for joining me. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Well, what would you like? Where would you like me to start? Would you like me to start with the cards, the Clarabelle cards?
Yes, that's what you started, I guess, in 2015, right?
Yeah. So I think it probably started in practice long before then. When I was working in all different offices in Scotland, I became the go-to girl for doing all the little quirky poems for work celebrations, people celebrating anniversaries, different events. Um, I think when it started was when someone had just asked me if I could do a quirky poem for someone's special birthday. Um, because I like to do fun stuff like that. And yeah, I remember doing one for someone, it was their 50th birthday. Then I was working with a lady, she was having twins, and I did one for her. And then it kind of just evolved from there. So I used to write all these little fun, quirky, bespoke poems. And I was known as basically the poem girl in all the offices that I worked in. For anything kind of fun and light humor, just to make people smile. It was always nice to share a little poem at that event. And I would read it out and make everyone laugh and smile. And it was just really nice. It was really touching. And then fast forward to like 2008 when I started my own business. So had a whole career in HR before that, and then I started my own coaching business. And then what I found was when I was not doing the coaching, I would spend a lot of time going back to the creative writing. I was always drawn to that. In the quiet moments, I was drawn to the creative writing. And I remember at the time I was quite active on Facebook, which I'm not now, but way back in 2008 I was. And I used to write these little like self-empowerment verses. And the odd time I would share them on Facebook. And I remember a girl who was on my page, she sent me a direct message and she says, Claire, I really love this verse. My friend really needs to hear these words right now. Would you mind if I used your words and put it on the inside of a card that I've got for her? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm so honored, of course. If you think that little poem would help your friend, then absolutely. She says, thanks so much. She's going through such a tough time. It really will help her. And I don't really know what to put on the inside of the card. So these words are perfect for what she's going through. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute here. People are asking me to do little bespoke poems and little verses for events or for people going through tough times. I've got hundreds and hundreds of these already written. Why don't I put it into a product so that people, if they choose to buy it, they can? But the main aim of the product, it was always to help others.
Yeah.
It was never monetary, and that's the truth. It was never monetary. It was always a desire, a deep desire to help others who were going through a tough time. And maybe they just needed a little nudge in the right direction, or they needed to receive something from a friend, loved one, family member who believed in them, who wanted to nudge them in the right direction and help them move forward in life. So the words that I created were all around self-empowerment. which is something that I'm very big on. I'm very passionate about self-empowerment, which was one of the reasons I got into coaching, was that when I was in HR, I always found the side of HR that I loved getting involved in was the learning, the development, the coaching, the mentoring, helping people to forge forward in their life and in their work. And that was something that came really easy to me. I would get a lot of energy from it. And because I get a lot of energy from doing it, I gave a lot of energy. And the person then became that energy. And they, when we'd talk, they would leave the room feeling they were capable of anything
This is
because I had.
this is just amazing. It's like healing others, right? That powers. And I believe not everyone has this skill.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that comes extremely natural to me. If I see someone down, my instinct is to listen to them, give them some words of encouragement, help them to bring back a little bit of self-belief. Because it's tough. We've all been through that in life where, you do go through those, transitions in life or changes that, life is a bit of a roller coaster and we all go through those tough times. So it might also be a bit of being there, done it. And just, I was always very good at self-coaching myself. I was always good at giving myself some really positive self-talk in those hard times and in those down moments. But I know that not everyone is in that position or is in that place or that mindset. And sometimes if someone else believes in you, you can start to believe in yourself a little bit. And I think that's where it comes from. And it's certainly where the Clarabelle cards came from. So one of the most popular cards, and especially during the pandemic, was "You're Never Alone," and
Mm,
there were some beautiful words, which I had created, by the way, long, long, long before something like the pandemic. Who would have known that would have happened?
yeah.
And it was almost like those words were meant for those kind of situations. Um, so yeah, that's how Clarabelle Card started. And basically, I just self-taught myself in everything. I knew nothing about card designs. I knew nothing about trademarks and positioning everything. I knew nothing about marketing, where I would sell the cards. I knew nothing about that. I learned everything from scratch. Um, I started off selling them on eBay. Then I moved to Etsy. Then the big one was moving to Amazon.
So
And I did it all.
how is doing on Amazon now? It's
Yeah, it's doing well. It's starting to peaks and troughs with Amazon, especially during the pandemic. Sales went through the roof. Like I couldn't believe the sales during the pandemic. And I started to see the different types of cards that people were buying pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and after. And it
okay.
was it was it was really interesting. So it was more pre-pandemic, it was more the celebratory ones. And then during the pandemic, it was more the empathy and the encouragement ones. And now I'm noticing a shift again. And it is more, well, actually, I sold You're Never Alone yesterday. I sold a few of them. There's more of the break a leg, good luck, the celebration ones. Um, so yeah, it's a work in progress, but it's something that I'm never looking to rush because I started it off as, I think, a hobby, a passion, a side hustle, and I always worked alongside it. And that's been since 2015. So I think going forward, have got some plans. There's a new website being built in the process just now. Should be ready over the next few weeks.
Okay.
So I'm starting to make a shift from Amazon platforms and Etsy and eBay to my own. And again, that might be a game changer.
Yeah.
But to be honest, there's not. I'm not rushing this process. Um, I think it was never meant to be rushed. I think some of the cards, some of the words, um, they're so sincere that it does take sometimes a certain situation for someone to choose that for a friend or a loved one.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Correct.
it's nice that it's there.
It's really glad to hear, the ideas, the business you started, and we all start these things and we don't know how to do it, right? You mentioned about the marketing, the website of it, how to sell it, how to manage the whole process. But there you go. If you are consistent and you try, you can do it. There's an example, right? Live example here. You mentioned about your creative writing site, and I recently saw some of your posts on the LinkedIn about this self-success book which you have
Yes,
written, which you have written like a years ago, right? And you shared a
yeah,
glimpse of that. Tell me about that.
yeah. So when I was working in Dubai, I I had a lot of time on my own. I was out there on my own, and I didn't know a lot of people. So I used a lot of the alone time to think about where I was at in life and to think about, it was based on, I think it was based on mastering yourself in order to make your life better. And I had read loads and loads and loads of books on the mindset, on leadership, on coaching. I had applied a lot of that in, my previous work. And I just wanted to try and pull all of the learning together, but with a little bit of my own twist. So I think when you're creative, you always want to bring in something a little bit different. But you're basically trying to put the learning into like a different model, like create your own model of what that learning means.
Yeah,
So I started writing the book. I called it King Think, and it's about mastering your thinking. And yeah, I'll be honest, it's not finished yet, but I went back to it a few months ago because I was more active on LinkedIn,
yeah,
and I was reading it and I thought, well, there's a lot of good stuff here that I could share. um I've now moved into a different phase in my life where it's all about giving and giving back. And I know that. I mean, I've always been a very giving person, but I think definitely I've moved into a phase in my life where I want to share the learning, I want to help others, and I want to give back. And
yeah.
I know for a fact this is the way forward for me now. And
Yeah.
I get I get fulfillment out of that. I get life fulfillment out of that.
You know,
Um,
Claire, it's not many people who will do that when they reach certain stage to think about others and giving back. I can feel
yeah.
that energy from you. You're a really good person.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
too. I get that from you also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe we're on the same level. Okay, tell me about little bit setup of this LBSS, which is the London
Yeah,
Business Support Services. Recently, you set up
yeah,
that, right?
yeah. So that's only been set up just a few months actually. So again, that's aligned with the whole of helping others, and helping other businesses. It's still very much in its infancy, and I'm still doing a lot of planning around what that would be and what that would be like. I've already started to change the direction of it a little bit. I think originally I was planning on doing a lot of the work myself. And I think now I'm going to use it as maybe like the lighthouse, pointing people in the right direction and to point them to other experts. I think, you know, I'm not a one size fits all. And I think there's so many great skilled experts out there that if you can pull them together and shine a light on them for other businesses to access, then I think for me that's maybe a better way forward.
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm going to move in this direction now. I think I'm going to move into public speaking and
Yeah.
to do conferences, seminars, events, maybe go into workplaces, but I see it very large scale. So I see it being big scale public speaking, motivational events, something that's going to really help others, something that they can apply straight away in their lives.
Yeah.
I've been to lots and lots of amazing events, and I've come out of them so inspired, so motivated. But maybe 24 hours, 48 hours later, I've had a dip.
Yes.
And I want to hold events that people can take that learning and apply it immediately. But so like make it so accessible that they really, it's easy for them to apply and easy for them to remember.
Yes.
What that like going forward, I don't know yet, but I definitely see that. I've been to some amazing events in Dubai, some
Okay.
amazing,
Yes.
and yeah,
You have
you
lots
do
of
some,
yes, amazing events. You're absolutely right, and you can meet so diverse audience with various experiences, which is really great, and you learn from it so much. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I remember sitting in the audience, and I remember everyone around me, all the other business professionals, so enthusiastic, so on it. Like, you know, they were really ready to take on the challenge. I've been to some in the UK where it's not been as enthusiastic, um, but in Dubai it was wow, so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And I just love being around that, you know. I love being around that empowered energy. I love seeing people do well. I love cheering people on.
So, Claire,
It,
you're absolutely right, and this is a very right mindset. You know, it's all about the mindset. It's positivity and helping others and meet with these people. So, and you have done so many things by yourself, and you have ideas. What message would you give to others who have ideas and want to change their lives? Like you said, you go to these events, you're so pumped up, but after 24 hours or after 2, 3 days, this all goes down and you're back to your work, the daily routine. So people are reluctant to take the first step for obvious reasons, right? What message you give to the people who wants to start something new, a business, entrepreneurship, whatever?
yeah, I mean, I think for me, I always just went for it, but not everyone's like me. So I do understand that. I think the most important thing is for the person to be clear in where they're going or what they want. I think, and I think they also need to want it enough. It needs to be up there in terms of importance. Because if it's not, as soon as you hit, you know, the big waves and the tough, you know, the when the roller coaster's going upside down, if it's not something that is of top importance to you or a priority or a big one in your life, the chances are you'll let it go. You know, the chances are you'll give up.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when I did my coaching course way back in 2008, I learned something that I'd never learned before. And I was so aligned with this. I was so bowled over and wowed by this process. And it really helped me with my own self-awareness and who I was as a person. And it was called a values elicitation exercise. So basically, it was identifying your core values and putting them in order of importance. But I had never done anything like that before in my life.
Mm.
I had never, I always thought, oh, I know what I stand for, I know what I'm all about, but I never actually really looked into it. So I think also what's very important for people is definitely know what you want, but please make sure it's aligned by your core values.
Yeah,
Because I think if it's not, I think again it's something that you may be excited to start, but then 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line, you might not keep it going if you hit a big roadblock.
yes,
But if it's something that you're completely aligned with, you're going to find a way to get over, to get around, to, push away that roadblock.
yeah,
Because if it's aligned by who you are, then you'll stand up for yourself, you'll stand by it.
correct, correct.
Um,
Very good message. Yes, yeah.
yeah. So it is a hard one. I think a lot of people, if I think of one of my family members, they don't like change at all. They like
We all
the,
are afraid of change, right? We all are.
yeah,
It's a natural thing.
yeah. But a lot of that might be down to one of his values, you see? His values might be stability and something that's in relation to not changing too much. So a lot of it does come down to maybe who you are as a person. But change, I've I've always embraced it. I've always had the fear, but I've always embraced it. And I've always tried to see it as an exciting step, um, more than a fearful step. So I framed it a little bit differently in my head. I seen it as something that, well, this is an exciting challenge, this is an exciting opportunity, rather than, oh, what if it goes wrong? I
Yeah,
never thought that. And it did go wrong, by the way, many times for me, but I never ever thought that in the outset. I never. Um, I always thought this is exciting, this is challenging, I'm going to learn from this no matter what. And
yes.
I think when you use that mindset, then it pushes you a little bit further into taking that challenge
The
on.
next level, yeah. That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, I want to
Yeah,
ask you one more question.
yeah.
I ask this to everyone who comes to this platform. When was the first step you have taken that changed your life? It could be in your professional or life or personal life.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. There's a lot, but I think the one that springs to mind was I worked in a charity in Scotland for 8.5 years, and I was in HR. And one of the responsibilities was to get a health award. I can't remember what the actual name of the award was. We were going for a health award. And it was basically to try and get the workforce and the user of our services involved in more healthy activities. And one of them, we had to try and make the events exciting so that people wanted to get involved. So one of them that we set up was to run the New York Marathon.
Okay.
And yeah, so there was a group of us who were given the responsibility to, try and encourage the workforce to get involved in all these different events. And we managed to get a handful of people. There wasn't a lot. We managed to get a handful of people who wanted to do the New York Marathon. Now, I went to the gym. I was never like a proper runner. Like, I run on the treadmill. I never run outdoors. And people were saying to me, "Are you doing it?" And I thought, "Oh, no, I'm just organising it." And they said, "Well, how can you expect other people to get on board when you're not doing it?" And I thought, they're so right. I have to do this. It's not a dream of mine, but I have to do this. So I also signed up for it. And I'll be honest, it was one of the most life-changing events because I had to go from walk a minute to run a minute, which started at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And then 11 months later, you were running for 5 hours non-stop.
Amazing. Yes. Amazing. Life-changing, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. And that 11 months, I learned so much about me as a person and the challenges and my determination and the tough days and the injuries and all of that. And passing that finish line at the end of it, the relief was unbelievable. When it wasn't celebration, which you think you're going to have when you pass the finish line. It was absolute relief. But the celebration and the excitement kicked in the next day. It was, wow,
Yeah.
like, this is an achievement. And that event, what I put my body through, because my body wasn't accustomed to that kind of a thing prior to all the training. And what that made me really see was that if you really put your mind to something, and if you follow the plan and you seek out the help and you look at what people have already succeeded in doing, that how they did it, then you can achieve it. You can achieve it. And as long as you're willing to be 100% committed and put in the hard work.
True.
And I remember coming home from New York, and I just had this I can't explain it. I had this unbelievable amount of energy that was so positive, so contagious, that people just couldn't get away from it. I was just, and it was then I decided to start the coaching business.
Yes.
So it was the ripple effect from that, because I then realized once you apply yourself to something and you commit and you want to achieve that, you'll find a way to achieve that. And the positives that came from that were second to none. And then I went on to run another 3 marathons. I don't know why.
That's amazing. I wish I could do that.
I won 4.
Yeah.
It's
Claire,
the
Claire, thank you so much for sharing this. And I think there's lots to take from this conversation. And one of the highlight for me is we are also busy these days, but the little nudge is required sometimes. Like you said, from your cards, this is super important from your family, friends, colleagues. A little nudge, a little piece of note or a message that keeps you going. Commitment, embrace the change. There's lots of positive messages here. So on that end, I will finish this podcast today. Thank you so much for joining. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tosi.
You're welcome. And for my audience, I will see you on my next episode. Thank you.